Hi, I'm Thomas Stubbs, Vice President of Engineering and Innovation for Coca-Cola's Freestyle Equipment Innovation Center, which produces the Freestyle machine. Freestyle is the state-of-the-art beverage dispensing platform from Coke that offers more than 200 drink options within a footprint about the size of an ATM. I'm here today to tell you the story of how, in a time of sudden change in the world, CPG industry, and all of our lives, our team used the AWS serverless platform to deploy a low latency web application that provided customers with a completely touchless user experience and once again reinvented how beverage dispensing works, all in just 100 days. You could say that this is a necessity as the mother of invention tale, and that would definitely be true. But it's also an it takes a village of architects story about creating a single second of interaction as well. For that part of the story, I'm going to need some help from my colleague, Daisy Teo.
Thanks, Thomas. Hi, everyone. I'm Daisy Teo, Director of Innovation. As Thomas mentioned, today we're going to walk you through how we took the idea of touchless dispensing on tens of thousands of machines from concept to cup in just 100 days. But before we do that, let's back up a step and talk about why. Every industry dreams of the perfect experience with its product. For example, hotel stays always have sunsets and plush pillows, or car commercials always whisk through roads without traffic. Well, here at Coke, it's no different. Our idealized product is known as the perfect pour. So, just for a second, close your eyes. Think about all the advertising you've seen for Coca-Cola beverages. You know, that fizz, that ah. For us, there aren't just fortunate product attributes. These are part of a complex process that we carefully engineer and design to deliver that ideal experience, that perfect pour. At Freestyle, this has been multiplied by over 200 unique beverages, not just providing you enormous amounts of choice, but at the same time assuring that same romanticized dispensing experience for whichever beverage you choose.
The Freestyle dispenser is actually a small beverage factory. The machine's 36 pumps have all the ingredients to mix hundreds of still and sparkling beverages literally in midair on demand. When you think about it, our work requires the culinary mechanics of recipe formulation, but also the science of fluid dynamics, the human computer interface of a tech company, and the queue management principles of a theme park. Freestyle engineers spend their days talking about terms like ice melt and viscosity. We debate just how much jiggle an icon should have to make it feel alive without interfering with readability. It's a cool place to work.
You know, it really is. And one of the reasons why is that we're constantly challenging the norm and pushing the envelope. One of the most disruptive things about Freestyle when we launched it 11 years ago was the decision to replace a traditional dispenser's manual buttons and levers with a screen-based interface. It allowed us to communicate more in real time and in a more engaging way. But like I said, we're always pushing the envelope and looking for better, more efficient ways for consumers to interact with Freestyle to ensure that perfect pour is always the perfect experience. So we in the innovation team had experienced with the ability to use sensors in the machine to detect motion, potentially allowing you to simply point for your choices in the air. We also played with voice command, and we even tried using foot pedals to navigate through the menu. We were testing Bluetooth versus NFC. There was always time for R&D. And then spring of 2020 came. For nearly every restaurant, amusement park, cinema, for nearly every office building and university had to rethink their business. That meant there were new rules around serving beverages.
Yeah, and that also meant that for Freestyle's $1 billion plus business, almost all of our customers were looking for new guidance and more options on how to use our dispensers in an environment where consumers were seeking touchless options. Freestyle has 60,000 dispensers in market. 80% of these were sitting in quick serve restaurants, the pandemic's first and perhaps hardest hit industry. For those customers, the profits from dispensed beverages are a big part of the overall margin. For many, even the potential cost of reconfiguring to accommodate traditional bag and box dispensing or selling of bottles and cans could have made the difference between surviving and closing. We needed to help our consumers, and we needed to move really fast.
Based on what we knew about the new environment of our customers' dining rooms, specifically around self-service, and our wealth of experience in consumer behaviors and digital trends, we had a few guiding principles. We can boil it down to three high-level, say, requirements. The first, the full experience had to be fast. The experience had to be available for everyone. This includes loyal repeat fans as well as first-time users of Freestyle. And we had to ensure the best consumer experience to stay true to Coca-Cola's perfect pour. We thought in several directions at once. The most promising solution came from this mobile computer that nearly everyone already held in their hand. And it had to be as frictionless as possible to ensure that perfect pour experience. In this new environment, consumers in front of a drink machine are now holding a cup, a lid, a straw. In addition to juggling food, payment, children, this would be the worst possible time to download an app on your phone. The solution just needed to be there for everyone. That meant no app to download. We didn't want consumers to take the time to register or sign up for a membership. And we needed to support as many mobile devices as possible. This led us to a QR code solution. Every OS on smartphones today can scan QR codes with their native camera app, and it can be launched with a single swipe on the lock screen. Pretty quick and easy. And finally, the actual pouring had to be lightning fast.
Let's step back for a second. That last requirement you mentioned sounds really hard. The contactless freestyle experience would need to ensure that perfect pour we talked about earlier. And dispensing, and especially in freestyle dispensing, a lot of the definition of the perfect pour is defined by you. What size cup are you going to use? How much ice do you want? What flavor combinations? And how full do you want your cup? And while it didn't take us long to trigger an automatic touchless pour for a predetermined volume of a small, medium, or large drink, if we're going to stay true to the real value proposition of freestyle, customization, we would need to address the complexity of choosing among 200 beverages with the exact amount of ice and drink you want in your cup. This is not trivial. A little bit of lag from screen to screen on your phone might be annoying, but not really problematic. But that same little lag in actually pouring would likely cause overflow in every drink poured. The solution would need to be extremely low latency, despite the disparate cellular and Wi-Fi networks that are likely to be the first and last legs of any interaction.
That means that when users pressed that pour button, and when they release the pour button, we would need to send signals that travel across the country and down through our infrastructure and security stack, and back to the dispenser extremely fast. With AWS, we designed an architecture that did just that, with an experience that is so simple and so fast that a common misconception is that everything is happening locally. What's awesome is it's not. And all that is happening in less than a second. Let's look at how fast that really is. Did you miss that? Let's try that again. Here. Now let's break down exactly what's happening in that 1 second experience. When a consumer walks up to the machine today, the screen is displaying a unique QR code, different for every single pour on every single machine. When that QR code is scanned, a URL is launched. Instantly, our consumer has a full menu of brands and flavors specific to that one machine. The consumer then selects a drink, and as soon as he taps the pour button, the dispenser immediately starts to pour, and of course, as soon as he releases the button, the dispenser immediately stops pouring. That means as soon as the QR code is scanned, our consumer connects to the cell tower and to the cloud. Then the cloud returns every call from the consumer's mobile device to the dispenser to take action. Now, Brooke on the AWS team is going to explain a little about all the magic that happened in that fraction of a second in the cloud.
Thanks, Daisy. My name is Brooke Mullen, and I'm a solutions architect here at AWS. Let's review some of the serverless technologies that makes touchless fast and secure to use. To start, scanning the QR code quickly shows a mobile version of the dispenser screen. Regardless of location, users enjoy a consistent experience because of Amazon CloudFront, a fast and secure content delivery network. Touchless accesses each machine's drink availability from Amazon DynamoDB, which is a fast and flexible NoSQL database. Because Freestyle machines send live data to the AWS cloud and have been since 2013, Touchless never has to access the physical machines to check availability. This results in a fast and pleasant drink selection experience. Pressing and releasing the pour button tell the machine when to start and stop pouring. To minimize latency and increase pour accuracy, requests are sent via WebSocket connections and are maintained and scaled by Amazon API Gateway. To communicate pouring to the machine, event-driven code runs on AWS Lambda. Because Lambda is optimized for performance at scale, pouring a drink with Touchless happens in milliseconds. For security, Touchless uses AWS Shield Advance and AWS Web Application Firewall, or WAF. Shield Advance provides managed denial of service protection, while WAF protects against common web exploits. The result of all of this is a fast, scalable, and secure experience for all Touchless users.
So, what Daisy and Brooke just unpacked for you is a really cool analysis of what happens in our new pour by phone experience. Now, let's talk a little about how we were able to make that happen, or more precisely, how fast we were able to make that happen. In mid-March of 2020, all of Coca-Cola had been drilling for potential work-from-home scenarios, testing our processes and systems. At Freestyle, we'd been sending folks home with key pieces of lab equipment and testing equipment in anticipation that our engineers and developers might have to work remotely from our labs, and more critically, apart from one another. By the first week of April, Atlanta, where we're headquartered, was sheltering in place. Our teams already work agile. And while we didn't know how long our customers would have to operate differently, we knew we would have to innovate and scale as quickly as possible. The team brought up all the infrastructure on AWS, installed the software on the dispenser, built out the mobile experience, lab tested all the while by working remotely. In our first week, we had thought through the concept and created an initial prototype. That's 1 week, really a weekend, not months, and we had a prototype. We were building in a real-time environment, and the first cut wasn't bad. The latency was extremely low, so we took it all through an AWS well-architected review to ensure that the design would function well and securely at a greater scale. Once we felt confident that the technology was there, we formed a small cross-functional agile team that included not just our developers, but our commercial, sales, marketing, and operations folks. We had to know what would actually be viable in the marketplace with our customers. After input from that expanded team and a few more sprints, we had an MVP ready to bring to customer accounts and see who would be interested in testing the concept with us. We found that a lot of people were interested. We started piloting and iterating beta versions in early June with Wendy's, Firehouse Subs, and Five Guys.
Now, Thomas, if I could share a little bit about those early pilots, we learned a lot when we observed consumers actually using our technology for the first time. Not only were customers really excited to have a touchless option for their guests, but consumers were completely blown away by this experience. I remember observing this one 7-year-old dressed in his baseball uniform. He walked into the Firehouse Subs with his mom just before closing, and he marched directly toward the Freestyle machine, got out his phone, and immediately started pouring. I have to admit, as confident as I was in our technology and user experience, I was amazed that he knew exactly what to do. Then he started walking backwards away from the machine, keeping a close eye on his drink, which continued to pour. Even when he was 50 feet away from the dispenser, he walked almost to the front door before he stopped. Apparently, he had been there 2 days earlier, and he had so much fun with mobile pouring, he made his mom take him back 2 days later. So while it was great fun for him, my 7-year-old friend, we learned a lot about how it was possible to use our technology in ways we did not intend. Our solution is based on a series of timeouts, not physical distance from the machine, which are intended to allow a person to pour a beverage or two, then disconnect so that he can't keep pouring after he leaves the restaurant by design. We got a lot of feedback from our customers, and we continue to refine our timeouts and our overall experience.
And it's a good thing too, because that kid would still be pouring that drink if we had introduced the timeouts. So a month later, on July 15th, we were confident enough in our test data to launch the web app publicly. Within 100 days of conception, 500 machines were running the new web app. We had gone from concept to code deployment, concept to cup in 100 days. Another 50 days later, we had scaled from 500 to 10,000 freestyle machines. And the full launch of all 52,000 freestyle machines in the US completed this fall. And another 8,000 dispensers around the world have already started to launch contactless pouring, and they'll be complete at the end of 2020. In fact, they completed yesterday. And there's the coolest tech geek thing. Our initial tests with dispensers in Canada, Belgium, and Italy indicate almost identical performance to that magic sub 1 second mark that Daisy described. And this is with some of the calls literally going back and forth across the Atlantic Ocean. All that concept to done before Christmas.
So it pours fast, and we deployed it quickly, but it wouldn't matter if no one was actually using it. Our early data from mid-November, before launching to all of the dispensers, showed that we had reached about 16,000 mobile pours in a single day. And at some locations, in one example, Nichols College in Massachusetts, 45% of the drinks poured from that freestyle dispenser were poured from a mobile phone. What's really interesting is that amusement channels like cinemas have the highest percentage of mobile pours. And some of our university and hospital locations are regularly pouring more than 25% from a mobile device.
And that's been the ultimate test. If consumers are using our technology, then we have supported our customers in times of crises. In almost every case, these were businesses that could not have reconfigured their stores to retrofit other beverage solutions. They'd bet on Freestyle and needed us to come through in a way that none of us had imagined. We've now demonstrated a new level of partnership, and it's already paid off in new installations, volume recovery, and more.
I also like where we're headed with this immediate use web app versus an app store download. We're continuing to build on that foundation, such as furthering consumer engagement, displaying content in other languages, and building in accessibility features. Overall, the web app served a much higher purpose than simply providing a touchless solution. It's consistent with what Coca-Cola Freestyle is trying to do as a brand, creating the ability to get a beverage of their choice in a fun way. And who knew that touchless was part of that fun?
Right. I actually think that we found ourselves on the vanguard of solving broadly for a contactless future. Versions of the concern that got us here are likely to persist, and what we and AWS have been able to do extends to a diverse set of use cases. ATMs, restaurant menus, elevators. The variety of touch interfaces we use every day outnumber the number of apps we could reasonably have on our phones. So we need something more elastic, more improvisational, and Freestyle's approach of turning your phone into an instantly configurable touchpad is a pretty damn good one.
I agree, Thomas. So let's now end by watching the full experience of Coca-Cola Freestyle's contactless mobile pour.
As the leader in fountain beverages, Coca-Cola Freestyle has developed the latest in contact-free dispensing. All Coca-Cola beverage dispensers are safe to use with the recommended care and cleaning. But in the current climate, people may be seeking touchless options as they return to their favorite restaurants, grocery stores, and convenience stores. Coca-Cola Freestyle is introducing Mobile Pour, a new way for your guests to pour their favorite drinks using their smartphone. No app downloads or memberships required. Let's see how it works. First, the guest places their glass under the dispenser and scans the QR code using their smartphone camera. Next, they tap the pop-up banner, opening a new browser window where they will see all 32 beverage brands at their fingertips. Then, they'll select their favorite brand, like Coca-Cola, and a flavor, like Cherry Coke. As they press and hold the pour button, their drink is filled within seconds. With Coca-Cola Freestyle's advanced capabilities, we're staying a step ahead on contact-free solutions and plan to start implementing them across all Freestyle platforms this summer.